The gym was quiet that afternoon. Not empty, just weighted with the kind of silence that comes before something breaks. Sunlight cut through the high windows in long, dusty beams, lighting up chalk clouds that hung in the air like fog. The iron plates on the racks gleamed dull silver. Everything smelled like rubber and sweat and old leather. In the corner, near the heavy bags, a man stood perfectly still. He wasn't stretching. Wasn't warming up. Wasn't talking to anyone. He was just standing there, hands loose at his sides, watching the room with the calm of someone who had already decided something a long time ago. Bruce Lee. Not the movie star yet. Not the global icon. Just a martial artist in his early 30s, lean and compact, wearing a simple black training shirt and canvas shoes. His frame was slight. Maybe 135 pounds. Maybe less. But there was something in the way he held himself, a kind of coiled readiness, that made you look twice. He didn't need to announce himself. He never did. Across the gym, near the squat rack, another man was finishing a set. He was enormous. Shoulders like boulders. Arms thick as most men's legs. His name was Rick, though it didn't matter much. What mattered was what he represented. 300 pounds of raw power. A powerlifter. The kind of man who believed strength was measured in how much weight you could move, how much mass you could carry, how much force you could generate in a single explosive push. He dropped the barbell with a crash that echoed through the room. Chalk dust puffed up around his hands. He wiped his palms on his shirt and looked around, chest still heaving, eyes scanning for acknowledgement. That's when he saw Bruce. Standing there. Small. Silent. Watching. Rick smiled. Not a friendly smile. The kind of smile that comes from certainty. From years of being the biggest, the strongest, the one nobody questioned. He walked over, slow and deliberate, his footsteps heavy on the rubber mats. "You're that kung fu guy, right?" His voice was thick, casual, but edged with something else. Amusement, maybe. Or disbelief. Bruce didn't move. Didn't nod. Just looked at him. Rick crossed his arms, still smiling. "I've heard about you. All that speed and flexibility stuff. Flashy moves." He paused, letting the words settle. "But let me tell you something, man. When it comes down to it, strength is strength. Real power. The kind you build with iron. Not dancing around." A few people nearby had stopped what they were doing. Not obviously. But the room had shifted. Everyone was listening now. Bruce's expression didn't change. Calm. Neutral. But his eyes, dark and unblinking, held steady on Rick's face. Rick tilted his head, leaning in slightly. "I mean, look at you. No offense, but you're nothing but weak bones. A strong wind could probably knock you over." The words hung there. Weak bones. Not an insult born of rage. Worse. It was dismissal. The kind of judgment that comes from a belief so deeply rooted it doesn't even need defending. Rick believed it the way some people believe the sun will rise. Strength was mass. Power was size. Anything else was illusion. Bruce finally spoke. His voice was quiet. Measured. No anger in it. "You think strength is only what you can lift." It wasn't a question. Rick laughed. A short, confident bark. "I don't think it, man. I know it. I can move weight you couldn't even budge. That's not opinion. That's physics." Bruce nodded slowly, as if considering. "Physics. Yes." He paused. "But physics also says that force is not just mass. It's mass times acceleration." Rick's smile faltered, just a little. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means," Bruce said, still calm, still quiet, "that you're confusing strength with power. And power with effectiveness." Rick's jaw tightened. "You're talking in riddles." "No. Bruce took a single step forward. Not aggressive. Just present. I'm telling you that your foundation is rigid. You've built everything on one idea. And rigid things break. The room was completely silent now. Rick uncrossed his arms. His hands hung loose at his sides, but his shoulders had tensed. You think you could take me? Seriously? Bruce didn't answer right away. He just looked at him. Not with hostility. Not with arrogance. Just with the kind of clarity that comes from knowing exactly what you are and what you're capable of. I don't need to take you, Bruce said softly. I just need to show you what you don't understand yet. Rick's face darkened. All right. Let's see it then. He stepped back, rolling his shoulders, setting his stance wide. 300 pounds of muscle, grounded like a mountain. His fists came up, not in any formal guard, just ready. Raw. Confident. Bruce didn't move into a stance. Didn't raise his hands. He just stood there, weight balanced, breathing steady. For a moment, nothing happened. And then Rick moved. He didn't throw a wild punch. He wasn't stupid. He stepped forward with surprising speed for a man his size, driving a heavy right hand toward Bruce's head fast, committed, the kind of punch that could end things. Bruce's response was so subtle it almost didn't register. He shifted. Not a step. Not a dodge. Just a rotation of the hips, a slight turn of the torso, and Rick's fist passed through empty air, missing by less than an inch. And in that same instant, while Rick's weight was still moving forward, while his momentum was still carrying him past the point of no return, Bruce's hand snapped out. A single strike. Open palm. It landed just below Rick's sternum, in that soft space where the ribs flare open. The sound was sharp. Precise. Like a drumhead being struck once. Rick's entire body stopped. His eyes went wide. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. For a moment, he just stood there, frozen mid-step, his brain trying to catch up to what had just happened. And then he staggered backward, gasping, one hand clutching his chest. It wasn't pain, exactly. It was shock. His lungs had seized. His diaphragm had spasmed. Every instinct in his body was screaming at him to breathe, but the air wouldn't come. Bruce stood exactly where he'd been. His hand was already back at his side. He hadn't moved his feet. Hadn't shifted his weight. It was as if nothing had happened at all. Rick dropped to one knee, still gasping, his face red. Bruce stepped closer, crouching down slightly so they were at eye level. His voice was still calm. Still quiet. You felt that? Rick nodded, still struggling to pull air into his lungs. That wasn't strength, Bruce said. That was timing. Structure. Precision. I didn't overpower you. I interrupted you. Rick's breathing was starting to come back now, shallow and ragged, but coming. Bruce continued, his tone almost gentle. You believe that mass equals dominance. And in some contexts, you're right. If we were pushing a car, you'd win. If we were lifting a stone, you'd win. He paused. But in a fight, mass without speed is just a target. Power without adaptability is just noise. Rick looked up at him, still on one knee, his expression no longer confident. Not angry, either. Just confused. Shaken. You hit me once, Rick said hoarsely. One hit. Yes. How? Bruce stood, offering a hand. Rick hesitated, then took it, letting himself be pulled to his feet. Because I didn't try to be stronger than you, Bruce said. I became water to your stone. Rick frowned. Water? Bruce nodded. You came at me with force. With certainty. You committed fully. And the moment you did, you gave me everything I needed. Your momentum. Your balance. Your structure. I didn't fight against it. I used it. Rick was quiet for a long moment, his hands still pressed against his chest. So, all that weight I've been moving. All those years. It doesn't mean anything? It means everything, Bruce said. In its place. But you've made it your identity. And when your identity is rigid, you become brittle. Rick exhaled slowly, his breathing finally steadying. He looked down at his hands, huge, scarred, calloused from years of gripping iron. I don't know how to be anything else. You don't have to be anything else, Bruce said. You just have to stop believing that what you are is all there is. The gym had started moving again. People were going back to their routines, pretending they hadn't been watching. But the air had changed. Something had shifted. Rick looked at Bruce, really looked at him, maybe for the first time. You weren't trying to embarrass me. No. You were trying to teach me. Bruce didn't answer. He didn't need to. Rick was silent for a moment, then nodded slowly. What do I need to learn? Bruce's expression softened, just slightly. That the body is a tool. Not a weapon. And tools are only as effective as the mind that wields them. So it's all mental? No. Bruce shook his head. It's all unified. Mind, body, spirit. They're not separate. When you lift, you think only of the muscle. When you fight, you think only of the strike. But the greatest fighters don't think at all. They respond. Like water responds to the shape of the cup. Rick looked away, processing. That's a lot. It is. Bruce's voice was still calm, still steady. And it takes time. But you already have discipline. You already understand sacrifice. You just need to expand what you think strength means. Rick nodded again, slower this time. He glanced around the gym, at the weights, at the racks, at the world he'd built his entire identity around. And for the first time, he saw it differently. Not as the only truth. Just as one truth. Can you show me? Rick asked quietly. Not how to fight. Just how to think differently. Bruce looked at him for a long moment. Then he nodded once. Yes. Over the following weeks, Rick came back. Not as a challenger. Not as a skeptic. As a student. Bruce didn't teach him kung fu. Didn't drill him on forms or techniques. He taught him how to move with intention. How to breathe with purpose. How to feel the difference between forcing and flowing. Rick didn't abandon his strength. He refined it. He learned to combine his mass with speed. His power with timing. He became something he'd never been before. Not weaker. More complete. One evening, months later, they were standing in the same corner of the same gym. The light was softer now, golden and fading. Rick was moving through a simple drill, nothing fancy, just footwork and balance, and Bruce was watching, arms crossed, silent. Rick finished and turned, breathing steady, sweat beading on his forehead. Better, Bruce said. Rick smiled. A real smile this time. I still can't move like you. You don't need to. You're not me. But I'm not who I was either. Bruce nodded. Good. Rick wiped his face with a towel, then looked at Bruce with something close to gratitude. You know, when you hit me that day, I thought you were trying to prove I was weak. No, Bruce said quietly. I was trying to prove you were more than you believed. Rick was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. They stood there together in the fading light, two men who had started as opposites and had become something else. Not the same. But no longer divided. Bruce turned to leave, his footsteps light on the mats. Rick called after him. Hey! What if I'd landed that punch? Bruce stopped, glanced back over his shoulder, and smiled, just barely. You wouldn't have. And then he was gone. The gym returned to its quiet rhythm. The weights still gleamed. The chalk still hung in the air. But something had changed. Not in the space. In the man who remained. Rick stood there alone, looking down at his hands, feeling the weight of them differently now. Not as hammers. As instruments. He had believed strength was the answer. Now he understood it was only the beginning. And in that understanding, he had finally become strong.